Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. This is the mid-year freakout and I am freaking out because I'm so excited to do this. The last book-related video I made for my channel was the mid-year freakout back in June of 2023. So I'm excited to come full circle, come back at you guys with another mid-year freakout. And I feel like this is the perfect video to kind of segue back into making videos because I get to catch you up on the things I've been reading and enjoying in 2024. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the mid-year freakout for 2024. You guys know how these videos work. I had fun watching everyone else's mid-year freakout videos for the last couple of weeks. I went through, picked 12 prompts that sounded interesting to me or fun to answer, and just jotted them down on the old clipboard. And I'm really excited to get through these because I've read some great stuff this year. The first question they ask is, what is the best book you've read so far? And I'm like, yeah, girl, let's get straight to it. My book of the year so far for 2024 is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Now, this is not a science fiction book, it's not fantasy, but my goodness, it is definitely my book of the year so far. I loved this book. It's a book following the life of a boy named Demon. He grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's a story about poverty and drugs and the foster care system and just this boy's tragic life. And even though it was sad, it was heavy, it was also wholesome. It was one of the best coming of age stories I've ever read. This is a huge recommend from me to all of you guys. As soon as I was finished, the first thing I did was make my brother read it, then my husband read it, then my sister-in-law read it, and we are just loving this book. I want all you guys to read it, and please let me know what you think because it may be a little something different for you, but the writing was so good, the characters were so memorable, and the setting was just so raw and real that I can't imagine anyone reading this and not just loving it. It's so good. The next question is best sequel, and I feel like I should get double points for this because not only is it a book 2, but it's also a sequel series. And I'm going to talk about The Empire of Grass, which is book 2 from The Last King of Austenard by Tad Williams. And The Last King of Austenard series is a follow-up to Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which is a classic. It's beloved by many, and I love it. I love Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. You know, I haven't done a top 10 fantasy series in a long time since I've started making these videos. I'm definitely due for another one. But Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is definitely on my top 10 fantasy list. I think The Last King of Austenard, now I'm only 2 books in, but I think The Last King of Austenard may pass Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn in my favorites list as far as fantasy series go. And this book, number 2, Empire of Grass, is definitely a phenomenal sequel. I loved every page of this book. And that's a lot to say because it's a big book, but I was enamored. One reason I think I'm enjoying The Last King of Austenard series even a little more than Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is because I'm already so familiar with the world, the maps, the characters. It's all already in here. And in here, you know how it is with these characters and these beloved places. They live in your heart. And I'm already so familiar with this place and these people that I was able just to dive right back in with no warm-up time, you know, no acclimation. I was ready to go. And I absolutely love this follow-up series. And this is the best sequel I've read all year. My third question is new release that I haven't read yet. That one was very easy for me because I have not read Empire of the Damned yet. And I'm going to show you a copy of Empire of the Vampire because I don't even own Empire of the Damned yet. Like, what is wrong with me? I have no idea. This was one of my top 3 books the year it came out. I think it was 2021 maybe 2022. Either way, the year this came out, I absolutely loved it. But for some reason, I haven't picked up book 2 yet. So that is definitely my most anticipated new release of the year. It came out earlier this year, and I just haven't got to it for no real reason at all. What's wrong with me? Now, the next question is about the new release for the second half of 2024 that I'm most looking forward to. Now, I didn't do my research. I can't remember if The Devils by Joe Abercrombie is coming out this year or next year, but if that comes out in 2024, I mean, that's going to be hard to top for me. I'm very excited for that. And anything Joe Abercrombie is just an automatic read for me. He's one of my favorite authors, but for the sake of just not knowing what the actual release date on that is, I'm going to go with The Navigator's Children, which is book 4 of The Last King of Austenard. Now, since I don't have it, because obviously it's not out yet, I'm going to show you guys this book. Now this is The Heart of What Was Lost, and this is a little skinny novella that you read in between Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn and The Last King of Ostenard. I'm hoping that I can get some of my Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn friends really hyped up to read The Last King of Ostenard, so that by the time November comes out and that book is out, we can like all read it together. But this is the one that you read in between. It's a novella. It's not necessary technically, but it's very, very good. And I really think it gives you a head start, considering it features a character who is a POV in the second series. So if you're at all interested in joining me on my journey through The Last King of Ostenard, pick this bad boy up, read it. It's super short, it's very good, and then just catch up with me and we'll read The Navigator's Children in November. I'm so excited for that. All right, you guys know I don't really like being negative that much, but number 5, the biggest disappointment. I'm not gonna lie, I've read a handful of books this year that I just thought were kind of mid, just not that good. But I don't really consider them huge disappointments, because if I'm being honest, they were about what I expected them to be. Like, not a huge letdown, just kind of like, yeah, that was about as good as I thought it was going to be. But for me, my biggest disappointment is going to be Stoner by John Williams. This is a book that was really popular in my circle of YouTube a couple of years ago, maybe 2022, I think. It could have been last year, but anyway, a while back. And people were reading this and they were just gushing over it. And it wasn't just random people. It was people who I really trust their opinion, who are, our likes and dislikes align a lot of the time. And the things they were saying about it, I was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be the book for me. And instead, I just really didn't like it. And I hate that for me. The writing was captivating. It was beautiful. The talent was just oozing from the pages. I will probably try another John Williams book just because I did appreciate the writing so much. But in the end, I thought that this was a very uninteresting book about an uninteresting man and his uninteresting life. Like, nothing really happened. And you guys, if you know me, you know me. I love a book that's slow and that's slice of life and that's kind of like without a plot. That's fine with me. But this book also, the characters were either just unlikable or incredibly uninteresting. And it just didn't work for me. So for anyone who's dying to try this, I still say you should, because so many people really loved it that it was just a miss for me. Maybe it was a mood thing, or maybe it just wasn't my style. But I do have this listed for sale on my Pango store. If you're interested in trying it, pick up my copy and tell me what you think. Now, the next question I have is, what was your biggest surprise? Now, for me, this wasn't just a surprise, but it was a happy surprise. And I am going to tell you guys about The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker. Now, this was the very last book I read in the first half of 2024. So I finished this on the very last day of June. But it counts for the first half, so I'm counting it in my list. And this was a big surprise for me, because I just didn't know if it was going to be too dense, too philosophical, too out there, too military. I'm not a huge fan of military fantasy. Also, in a good way, I hear this series compared to Malazan a lot of times. We all know Malazan did not work for me. So I was very, very nervous getting into this. I just thought, man, I want to like this. I hear people rave about it, but in the end, I just don't know if stylistically it's going to work for me. Surprise, surprise, I loved it. It was dense. It was philosophical. It was something I had to chew. I couldn't just put my headphones on and tune out. I had to pay attention. The first 30%, I wasn't sure if it was going to click for me. I wasn't following the story. I wasn't really clicking with any of the characters. But after I really got my bearings and kind of figured out the storytelling style and who the characters were, I loved it. And spoiler alert, because this is talking about July and on, but I kept reading and I kept liking it. My enjoyment went up. So big surprise for me, but I loved, what's this book called? The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker. The next question it asks is favorite new to me author. And for myself, I'm going to go ahead and talk about R. Scott Baker some more, because I thought this is something that I'm going to sample to see if I like it. I'm not sure if this is going to click with me, But not only did it click with me, but I decided to read the first 3 books, just kind of bam, 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 right in a row. Not only because it's complicated and I didn't want to lose too much information, but because I was enjoying it so much, I just didn't want to stop. And there is a follow-up or second series that comes with this, a 4-book series that comes afterwards. And I really thought that I was going to save that for 2025, but I fully intend on reading that this year. So favorite new to me author is going to be R. Scott Baker. Like, I really like this guy. I think it's working for me. This next one's always so fun to me. What is your newest fictional crush? Now this one is so obvious. In fact, if you know what I've been reading this year, you've probably already guessed it. I don't care if you're a woman or a man or a border collie. If you have a pulse, you do have a crush on James Alexander Malcolm Mackenzie Fraser. That is quite the name. But I am, of course, talking about Jamie from Outlander. Oh, swoon. I'm reading these slowly. I was going to do one a month, but they are huge books and they get bigger as they go. And I found myself kind of burning out on big books. And I'm enjoying the series so much that I did not want to force it. I don't want to burn out on it. So I'm kind of just going with the flow and sticking them in when I feel like it. But my goodness, you guys, the way this man is written in this book, you will have a crush on him. Next up is newest favorite character. Now, you guys might be tired of me talking about Tad Williams, but I'm gonna do it. My favorite new character, and I'm showing you now book 1 of The Last King of Ostenard, The Witchwood Crown, and this is where we're introduced to my new favorite character. And he is a troll, and his name is Little Snennick. I'm not going to tell you too much more, but if you love Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, you already know about our best boy, Benedict. Well, this is another troll character, and he is just as lovable, but even, I don't know, Little Snennick is just a little edgier than Benedict ever was. I love this guy, and I can't wait to keep reading about his character. Question number 10 says, what is a book that made you cry? Or what is the saddest book you've read? Now, I've had kind of a sad past, 10, 12 months anyway. So I've kind of been avoiding books that are super heavy and emotional, but it's probably Demon Copperhead for me because I did tear up or full-on cry several times in that book. But because I don't want to repeat too many actual books, I am going to talk about a reread I'm doing. I've kind of figured out a nice rhythm for myself to where I am never not rereading a Robin Hobb book. I love Realm of the Elderlings too much to ever let it go. And so I've been reading just a little bit, sometimes 1 page, sometimes 20, right before bed. That's the best way to fall asleep, in my opinion, is reading some Realm of the Elderlings. It's just so comforting to me. But I am currently in the middle of a Tawny Man reread. And if you know, you know, you guys, if you have read this book, Fool's Errand, you will cry. And spoiler alert, if you read it 2 times, you will cry. If you read it 3 times, I'm guessing you're gonna cry every time. There's a moment in this book that's it's just one of the saddest things that's ever happened, and it'll never not be sad to me. So yes, I cried, even on a reread. And of course, the flip side to a sad book that makes you cry is going to be a happy book that made you laugh. I love to laugh. I've read lots of funny books this year, but the one that just really cracked me up, no surprise here because it's hilarious, is The Office BFFs, and this is by Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey, who of course played Pam and Angela on The Office. Now these two host one of the most popular and most frequently downloaded podcasts of all time at this point, and I think the podcast is also called Office BFFs. So I don't listen to podcasts, not because I don't like them, but because I spend so much time audiobooking. And I feel like any time spent podcasting is going to take away from my audiobook time. So I just don't listen to that many podcasts. But I've heard how good this was. So I thought, I bet this book is going to just be like a condensed version of all the great stories they tell on the podcast. And I think that is about what it is. I love this so much. Now, I am a fan of The Office. But I think even if you don't have to be a super fan to like this book. You could just, enjoy it, maybe seen it once, all the way through the people who are obsessed with it and watch it all the time. This book is perfect for you. The audiobook I love because Angela and Jenna narrate it themselves, and they take turns doing the narration when they're telling a story. But I had to have the physical copy as well because there's so many photographs. I literally busted a gut laughing several times, and just the behind the scenes stories are so funny, and it was just incredibly wholesome. My takeaway from this book was that yes, they did have as much fun as you would think they had. Yes, they're really all friends, and it was just wholesome and uplifting and just nice to know that sometimes Hollywood isn't as crooked as it's, we know it's crooked, but sometimes there's good pockets of it with good people who are just making really good entertainment, and they love each other and they love their fans and they love what they do. And this was just a really fun book to talk about that. This next question is, what is your favorite video that you've uploaded this year? I almost skipped this question because obviously I have not been making videos, but I wanted the opportunity to remind you guys that I was recently on BellTube, on Brian Bell's channel. He has a program called For Whom the Bell Tolls, and it's just a really fun, free-form chit-chat, hour and a half. And I love this show he does. I love all his guests. He comes up with the most creative questions, and he's just such a chill host. We had a great time, and I linked it below so you guys can check it out. Check out his channel, check out our conversation, and just get caught up a little bit on what all I've been reading and doing in the past year. And the final question on my clipboard is, what do you need to read before the end of 2020? Now, I'm going to take some liberties with this because I have not been making TBRs. I haven't been following any type of schedule. And in some ways it's been really nice. I've read some really random stuff, but I am starting to crave a little bit of structure. And so I have a lot of stuff I need to read before the year is over, but at the same time, I almost feel like I need some suggestions. So I want to start at least one big fantasy series in the second half of 2024. I am taking suggestions, so please leave them in the comments below. But I want to show you some stuff that I already own that I really do want to get to before the year's over. First of all, I'm going to show you a couple from series that I want to get back to. I enjoyed the first book I read so much. Both of these, they can be read like standalones, so I never felt the need to rush right back because I wasn't waiting on an installment to finish the story in my head. But they are both series that I absolutely loved what I read from them, and I'm dying to get back. First of all, A World Without End. I loved Pillars of the Earth. It was so good. So I'm really excited to get back to World Without End, because everyone says it's so good, and I just can't wait to dive back into Ken's writing style. The only thing holding me back is, like I said, I haven't really been in the mood for huge books lately. And this is a huge book. Like, we're talking 1,300 pages. So it just depends on when I'm in the mood for, a 50+ hour audiobook or a 1,300 page book. But I'm dying to get to this. So definitely before the end of the year for sure. Another one along those same lines is some more Larry McMurtry. Lonesome Dove is one of the best books I've ever read. And although I can't believe that anything could top Lonesome Dove, I've heard that the sequels and the prequel are also really good. So I want to read The Streets of Laredo, Comanche Moon, and I think Dead Man's Walk is the name of the other one. So I'm really excited to get to these. I think I like Westerns, you guys. Next up are a couple either standalones or books that only have one installment in the series so far. The Sword of Kaigen, I have been meaning to read this for years. I had a paperback copy for years, and then for Christmas, Theo over at Rekindled Reader sent me this beautiful hardcover. Oh my gosh, it's even signed inside. I'm obsessed with this. Like, just look at the map, the artwork. It's just stunning. But not only is this a beautiful book that feels like it's a shame that I haven't read it yet, just sitting on my shelf, but everyone says it's so good, and I'm really interested in the story. So definitely going to read Sword of Kaigen sooner rather than later. Another one is The First Binding. I've heard some mixed things about this, but personally I'm very intrigued by this story. Another super fat big boy. I don't know why fat books are giving me hesitation right now, because typically the length of a book has never deterred me. But right now, maybe it's just summer because my kids are around and my attention span's a lot shorter. But big books are kind of putting me off right now, but I really do want to read this before the year's over. Another book that I've heard so many great things about, it's a book one, James Islington, The Will of the Many. People are just blown away by this. It's people's book of the year. Everyone's so excited for it. I haven't got to it yet, and this one I'll probably read this month even. I've been waiting to get to it. I've heard so many good things. I don't even know what it's about, but I kind of don't want to know. I don't care. I just want to jump in and see where it takes me. Another couple books that are book ones of a series, but the series has multiple entries, so I don't need to worry about it. One is The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. I don't know a lot about this series, but based on what I do know, it seems like something that I'll really be into. I love a boat book. I'm finding out that I really do enjoy a nautical setting for my fantasy stuff, so I'm really excited for this. And this guy I've talked about a few times. I'm going to be doing a read-along with this, I think, in August. The Return of the Knights by Gregory Kontaxis. Very excited for this. I just love the Greek influences, and it's interesting to me. So there you have it, guys, the mid-year freak out and a little sneak peek at what I've been reading this year. I say it every year. It's so cliche. I cannot believe we are 6 months into the year. But here we are. It actually has been a very good reading year for me. I'm interested to know if you guys have read any of these. Are there any books that I've read you haven't that you need more information on? Just hit me up in the comments. More than anything, though, where should I head in 2024? Like I said, I kind of want to start a new big series. What should it be? What's a big fantasy series that I haven't read yet? Because let's be real, I've read a lot of books, but I've by no means read everything. And I feel like there must be a couple of quintessential fantasy series out there that I haven't started yet. Sci-fi too, of course. I'm much less read when it comes to sci-fi. So maybe it's going to be a year of sci-fi. Anyway, hit me up with your suggestions and just say hi in the comments. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon.